probably between 35 and 50% of the leads prepay and come in. And then we close 70% of those leads.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so we've gone in COVID-19. I mean, we signed up February 2020. We nearly doubled the practice during COVID.
So this is super informal. It's just getting to know you, learning
Cool.
about how you guys work together, and just seeing what you guys can offer, docs that are coming on board with Atlas or who are with us and who might be struggling and having some issues. What do you do different? And then Nico told me you're in Florence. I'm in Columbia.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So my college roommate was from Effingham. So I spent a
Wow.
lot of my college time in Florence.
Small world. My wife went to Sherman, so she's a graduate from Sherman Chiropractic School in Spartanburg.
So I never knew that there was any chiropractic college other than Palmer, because that's where my dad went and
Right.
that's where my grandfather went. So in October, I went to an event for Dr. CJ, and they were talking about all these different chiropractic colleges. And I remember calling my dad and I was like, you never mentioned how many chiropractic schools there were. And I knew about Sherman because it was in South Carolina, but I had no idea how many different schools there were.
Yeah, Logan Life. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
It's crazy. So your wife is a chiropractor.
Yeah. So just quick little background. Wife's a chiropractor, been a chiropractor, grew up in Pennsylvania. That's where I'm from. We met in South Carolina, married 20 years ago. She worked for a pretty big conglomerate down here called Willis Chiromed. He owned about like 20 or 30 offices. And she went out on her own in 98. We met in 2000. I've been in manufacturing management forever. Was a plant manager at Sunoco Products Company, not the gas company, the packaging company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working my way up the corporate ladder, transferring and moving everywhere. I just met her. We just got married. I said, I don't want to move. And I said, well, I don't know if that's going to work for us. So we parted ways and I started working with her by accident. And, she was the doctor and I came in with like all this like corporate mentality. And, it was a little bit tough at first because I wanted to change everything. And she's like, no, no, no. But we basically worked it out where she gets them healed and I get us paid. And
That's good setup.
Yeah, and we've been working out really good ever since. And my daughter, who's a junior this year, is really strongly considering going to chiropractic school. I mean, that's what is on her radar right now. So hopefully she'll just come right into the practice at some point.
And take over. I
Yep.
think that's, I think when you hear like family owned businesses, you don't always think about, medical practices, but my
Right.
dad has 5 children and none of us went into chiropractic.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of, like, he won't admit it, but I think it kind of burned a little bit. I have
Yeah.
2 siblings in the medical field and none of us, it was just never on our radar, but it's always been such a huge part of our lives.
Yeah.
And even my children, it's funny, they get a headache and they don't ask for Tylenol or ibuprofen. They're like, Mom, I have
Right.
a headache. When can we get to the chiropractor? And so I love that,
That's
chiropractic is
great.
such a huge part of our family life because it works and it's so important.
Absolutely.
And it's so important, especially in today's climate. I just can't imagine
Absolutely.
not having chiropractic care. So, okay, so you have more of the business managerial background. Your wife, clearly a chiropractor. When you came into her practice, before that, I guess, was chiropractic something that were you seeing a chiropractor regularly before?
No idea.
No idea.
No.
So what did you think about chiropractic when you came into not only being married into it, but also working with chiropractic?
Yeah. I mean, I thought that it was conceptually different than the normal approach. We had this big argument when we were trying to have kids and then ultimately got pregnant. And she's like, we're not vaccinating the kids. And I was like, are you out of your mind? You know what I mean? I had no idea. But then when I did my research, I was like, okay, you're right. We're not going to vaccinate them. So it's an educational process, but it really comes down to trust. It really comes down to bedside manner, trust, your heart, if you can show your heart, and because people have to learn, they have to understand, and that's the biggest thing with any business is it comes down to the people. And, right from the beginning, I felt like Atlas structured their business a lot like I would structure mine. And this is what I say to people when they call me. And I've had a lot of docs call me. I had one yesterday. I had one 2 days ago. I think I had 6 this week. And it's a pleasure to talk to them because I'm excited about what it did for me. But I tell them, I said, listen, we don't force anyone to sign up for a long-term plan. We give them options. If they want visit to visit, they can do visit to visit. They want month to month, they can do month to month. They want to prepay a year, they can. I said, Atlas structures it the same way. I said, they're month to month. I mean, if you don't like them, leave them. I mean, but they're willing to put their reputation out there to say, hey, we have a product that we feel so strongly about that we feel like once you get involved, you're not going to want to leave. I said, they're not asking to sign a long-term contract. And I've wasted a lot of dumb money on gadgets and gimmicks. And this is like ROI, patients coming through your door. And that's a big deal with you guys. I think you guys have really done it pretty well. I'm sure you haven't treated you. I'm sure you've had some complaints, but we've had some complaints. You can't keep 100% of everybody happy. Yeah, you can't. So, it's just been a really good a really good thing, and I didn't have any chiropractic experience at all when I first met her.
Now, one of the things that Nico, your account manager, was telling me about you, which got me so excited to get on a call with you, was that when we have potential doctors who want to come on, sometimes they want to vet the process, the Atlas program before they even will agree to talk to sales. And you have, like you said, you've talked to several of them for us, 6 this week. Um, what made you comfortable, or what made you okay with talking to people about us? Because while we appreciate it, and I
Yeah.
am so thankful that you're willing to do that. What was it about Atlas that you were like, okay, I'm willing to take the time out of my day to do this for them?
It's easy to tell the truth. I mean, I don't have to like put on a sales gimmick or like read a paper. I just tell them what we did. And we did a little bit of strategic advantage because, there's some guys come out of school, they're young, they don't know how it works, and they're starting to get into the program. It's going to take them longer.
Mhm.
That's one of the questions I asked right up front. I said, listen, I'm not trying to get into your personal business, but tell me about your practice. I said, let me tell you about ours. We're straight chiropractic. We're not medically integrated. We're not doing anything else. Not that there's anything wrong with the medically integrated guys. We just don't. We do try to do long-term care plans. We are very experienced in visit 1 and visit 2 and how to set up those plans. Tell me about your practice. And if they say, this is what we are, or this is what, and then I try to like steer the conversation. But the bottom line is, um, you guys bring patients to the table. Um, you're going to have some tire kickers. You're going to have some people that aren't serious. You have to have them prepay. I always tell them, listen, I was not a fan of prepaying. We've never asked anyone to prepay, but we've done it, and it's the best thing we've done. And I said, they're offering this AI program now, which personally, I'm grandfathered into an older program. And I just told them I was very interested in this from the ground floor. So I got intimately involved with Atlas Ashley and how the texting
Mhm.
app work. And I found out after a couple of weeks, I can't type that fast. I'm not a good typer. So they were asking me the same questions. And so I wanted to share this with Nico, and I asked him what his email address is yesterday. And I'll be glad to share this with you, but this is a year's worth of work. So I created 6 Word documents with all my responses. I just cut and paste them right into the portal, and I just changed the name because I've been doing it for 15 months now. So it's easy for me to put my own personal spin on it. So I encourage them. I say, listen, if I can do it, AI can do it. So AI is now responding for you guys, but they give me a chance to go in and actually tweak and change some of those responses. So you can put your own personal spin on it. And I just read some of them to them sometimes. I just like, hey, the first one comes through and they welcome them. And then there's a no thanks if you don't want to. And then he goes, well, how's the prepay work? And a lot of times I'm sitting at my desk and I'll just read it to him. I'll say, hey, it says, you agree to an appointment. And then I just say, hey, okay, wonderful. I have that time temporarily held for you. We're thankful to be able to offer you and Florence, South Carolina, this amazing 22-year anniversary special. The interest has been tremendous. And due to the number of patients interested, uh, we have to prioritize our schedule. And so we can reserve that spot for you. Once you've prepaid the $22, we have 3 ways for you to prepay. You can prepay over PayPal with using this link right now. You can call our office. You can come by our office and prepay in person. And I always tell them, put your website everywhere, because people want to make sure that you're for real. They want to make sure that they're not like signing up for a scam. And so they're going to probably vet you off of your website. But if you offer them the chance to come in person, pay over the phone, talk to somebody, now you're legit. And like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
When I did prepays, I worked for 2 doctors that worked with Atlas. That's actually how I ended up coming on board with Atlas as an
Nice.
official team member. But one of the things that I found so easy was prepays. And it is always comical to me when they're like, oh, I can't get a prepay. Because when I would talk to leads and they would say, well, I'm not interested, I'm so sorry, but because of the demand for this special, I can only schedule you an appointment with a prepayment. We'd love for you to come in, call me back whenever you have an opportunity. Or they would say, I'm in my car right now. Okay, perfect. What's a good time for me to call you back? I had to do a lot of following up. But if you could get them to commit to the prepay, then they show, they come in.
Absolutely, absolutely. They do come in, and I gave them these percentages, and these are real life percentages. I said, okay. And I said, well, how about the leads? Are they any good? I'm like, well, they're not all going to be perfect. I said, but they've always promised you, at least they promised us, at least 30 clicks a month. I said, we've never had less than like 60 a month. And the first week we had 172 in week
Oh,
1.
wow.
Like we had like over 400 leads in the first month. And they were like, oh my God. I said, well, yeah, you have to vet them out. You have to prepay them. I said, but here's how the numbers work. Probably between 35 and 50% of the leads prepay and come in. And then we close 70% of those leads.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so we've gone in COVID-19. I mean, we signed up February 2020. We nearly doubled the practice during COVID. Now we're in South Carolina, so it's a little bit more of a workable environment in terms of getting out there and doing things. If you're in a big metro area, you're on lockdown, and that's a problem. But it's been tremendous. And I just basically tell them our story, and then they ask me some questions. Like the other day, the lady was like, yeah, we do some 3-month plans. I said, okay, what do you do after 3 months? She said, well, we usually get them to stay for maintenance. I said, well, what's maintenance? She said, once a week for a little while. I said, well, why don't you, I mean, I don't mean to tell you what to do, but why don't you do a 60-month plan? Why don't you do a year plan? Because if you're going 3 times a week and then 2 times a week for 3 months, why don't you just add 1 time a week on for the 9 months? And now you have them committed for a year. Oh, I didn't think about that. I said, well, yeah, well, if you think about the math, we're charging $40 a visit. If you're self-pay, 60 visits multiplied by 40 is $2,400. Divide that by 12, it's $200 a month. I said, if you lock down 2 patients at $2,400, you've just paid for your month.
Yeah.
I said, this is really a no-brainer. So I kind of get into some of those little bit more of a detail, and all I'm doing is telling them what we do. I mean, it's not like it's rocket science.
And you guys, it has worked from what Nico has told me for you guys. Clearly, you and your wife are phenomenal closers. And part of being successful with care packages is having the ability to sell and being able to close those packages and being able to get the patients to understand the numbers. One of the things that I have heard from new docs is, I don't know how I'm going to handle the influx. How am I going to handle the scheduling? How do I, deal with, okay, you've got 30 you promised 30 people through the door, or I signed, I have 12 new people this week. Was it overwhelming at first for you all with the patient leads, or after you vetted them, did it just flow naturally? How did
Well,
that work for you
it's a
guys?
good question, and people have asked me that. So this is what we did, and this is one of the things that I really like about Atlas. You guys have been flexible, and it was Nick at the time,
Hmm.
who was also great.
He was
Um,
great.
and I know he's with the dentist people now or something like that. But um, I said, listen, we'll put some money down, but give me 4 to 6 weeks to get all of our paperwork together. I got these 2 racks, and one was new patient visits, visit 1, visit 2. All the paperwork was there. So we wanted to be as efficient as we can. Then we've always done this, and I told the doc this the other day, and maybe this is something you guys can personalize for Atlas, and maybe CJ does it. I have never sat under CJ. We've done some other consulting, and I heard great things about CJ, but we we haven't watched videos. There's this website called Backtalk Systems that they have a welcome to chiropractic video. It's like 5 minutes, and they customize it with your logo and stuff on the front, so it's like it's your video, but it's not. And then they have a report of findings video, and that's 6 minutes. So the patient walks in the door, you greet him, you say hello, you haven't watched a video. Now you're preparing the paperwork. Also, they're understanding everything the doctor's about to tell them. And then before the X-ray review, the report of finding review, it goes through the nervous system, how the bones are, how bones related to the nerves, and it's easy. So now you've just kind of set them up to hear specifically what's wrong with them. And so, we've done it that way. We only have a two visit program. It took us probably about the second month to really get our feet under us. But I tell people all the time, I said, you got to give it 3 to 4, 5 months. I said, you can't just sign up for a month and say, oh, it didn't work. I said, that's not being fair. You got to make sure your procedures are effective and efficient. Make sure you got all of your I's dotted and T's crossed, and it's just going to come. It's about closing and it's about sales. I agree with that, but it's more about trustworthiness, because 50% of these people have never seen a chiropractor before.
Yep.
And the other 48% have been to a medical doctor that doesn't give a rip, But if they come into a chiropractic office, if it's a true blue chiropractic office, I'm sure in your dad's office, they see a guy who cares, who genuinely cares, who gives of his time, who answers questions outside of bones and muscles, just because he cares. And there's value in that,
I think it's, I hope it's not a lost art, but there's just so much to be said for developing that relationship and building that trust. And that's one of the things that I keep working with the account managers on. I talk to them all the time about working with the doctors, and I'm like, this isn't just a numbers thing for us. They have to trust us that we know what we're doing, but they also have to trust us that we're listening to what they're saying. And so I
Yeah.
think patients are the same way. You're the expert. We're the experts in marketing. You guys are the experts in chiropractic. So you guys have to trust us. Your patients have to trust you. That's the way you're successful, and that's the way you build long-term relationships. When I interviewed my dad, one of the things he said was he has 4 families that he's worked on 4 generations of family
Wow.
members, and that they trust him. The whole family does, and so it's such a big part of having that. It's just trust, like you said. It sounds so easy, and it is. You've got to be genuine and you've got to be yourself. And I think that was one of the things with Atlas, like you said. I believed in the product. I worked on it from your standpoint. So it was very easy for me to come into this role
Yep.
and talk to doctors, especially the new ones, and say, I can promise you we can be successful, but
Yep.
you have to give it time. So you were talking with Nico and I about how you had a chiropractor working with you, and now it's back to just a solo doctor practice.
Yep.
With the solo doctor practice, what is your
Yeah, you
average?
asked me this. Yeah, let me say something else, because I
Okay.
want to break this up.
Okay.
So you have to book out sections of time for new patients. So every morning we have a 10 o'clock to 11:30. No one patients come in at all. No, none. That's our new patient time frame. Afternoon's a little harder, and we'll take 1 hour in the afternoon and we'll book only new patients. That's how you get volume through the door. And you have to book in sequence. And sometimes you're 1 day out, 2 days out, sometimes you're 4 days out. But you also want to try to minimize the distance between visit 1 and visit 2. Like, you don't want that to be a week. You want that to be closer together. So, as you see visit 1, that visit 1 person is filling in that next day. So new patients can't come into there. So it's important to be strategic like that. That's probably not rocket science. You may already know that, but those 2 things, making sure you have the pre-visit videos, the sections of the day planned out, all your paperwork ready to go, and just be super efficient, because you can't get back that visit 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That's a first impression. That's the biggest, besides Atlas Ashley, which is really the first impression
Yeah.
of your office. But now when they come through the door, you have to match that.
So how many patients are you guys able to see in a day? What's a full day look like for you all?
So we see somewhere between 45 and 70 a day. Um, and usually it's about 55 or 60.
And how
Now,
many days a week are you open?
3.5 day Wednesday. So we're open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Um, we stopped Wednesday a while ago. We typically go to church on Wednesday nights and do different stuff like that. So we thought it would be a good time that, typically you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but we didn't want to work Friday. So we do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So it's usually like, you know, 55, 60, 50, and then 10 on Wednesday. And so it averages out to be a 180. We were doing 217, 220 when the other doctor was there, but it's just a lot for one doctor.
It is. And so when you went from having two doctors to one doctor, how did you work with us? Did you dial back your ad spend
Yeah,
some?
we did. I just called and said, hey, can we go to 50%? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And so we dialed back the ad spend, and then we're getting less patients, but that's okay because we're pacing it out. And because we have good retention, we've made a big impact. And now we're just kind of waiting to get more resources to be able to run faster, you
Yeah.
know? And you guys have been great with that, and that's the other thing. I mean, there's no contract. You guys have been flexible. And I tell docs all the time, there's been 2 or 3 times I called and I was like, Nick, can you stop? I mean, I just don't want any more patients. And they're like, what, are you kidding me? I said, yeah. He said, you actually had to stop patients. I said, yeah, it just got too much. We had too many things to do. And they're like, well, that's a good problem to have. I never heard of anything like that before. And I tell them too, I said, listen, we shopped around, and I said, Atlas isn't the cheapest ad spend campaign out there. I said, but they do what they say they're going to do. And, and if you just can lock down a few patients a month, you're paying for it. That's another thing that they have told me that I really am careful because, and I don't want to work for you guys. I don't, and I don't need to know all the details, but I'm on this grandfather plan. So some people are calling me saying, well, I got to spend this with the ad spend and this, and it's $3,500 a month. How much do you pay? I always say, well, I got in before all this AI and everything. So I pay a flat fee, a little over $2,000. Oh, well, that's different. I said, well, you know, what do you need? Well, I don't understand. I said, well, do you need chiropractic consulting? Well, what's that? I said, do you need to understand how to talk to patients, how to adjust, how to formulate plans? Well, no, not really. I said, well, then call them and tell them you just want the marketing then. I said, they're willing to work with you. Oh,
And that's
really?
the
I didn't
thing.
think about that. I mean, I just kind of open up, like just talk to them like you're talking to a client. They're a good company. They'll probably set something up for you like that.
And there are some practices that we have three models now. And so it's changed even from whenever I was a CA working with Atlas, not as a part of the official team. But when I started, it was just high level, like you guys are on. And then Ashley AI came on with the cost per show subscription, sorry. And then now we have a monthly subscription. So we still have that high level, but every practice is so different. And so, we have practices who are doing amazing on high level, and we'll mention AI to them, and they don't want anything to do with it because they have a system in place that works and is successful.
That's us.
Yeah. So why would you want to change? If it's not broken, don't fix it. But
Exactly.
then there are some practices that don't have a person at the front who has the time or the right tone to be able to call people and be inviting. They may be a phenomenal CA,
Yep.
but their phone presence isn't the best. And so is that the person you want calling, trying to, get people to sign up, get that prepay? So, we have those options so that everybody can have something. We even have a new thing that we just started that was probably, we didn't have it, I don't think, when you started. It's a starter pack where we just give them the spreadsheet. So they get the high level spreadsheet you get,
Yep.
but we don't do any of the initial reaching out like we do for yours. So there's no texting. They're in charge of reaching out
Oh,
100%.
that would be heavy.
And we tell them it's very affordable,
Yeah.
but you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
And if
Agreed.
you can just close two patients, then we suggest at least moving up to eye level. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
if
See,
you
I didn't
need
know
to,
you had all those different levels because sometimes they call and they're a little money focused. They're like, well, it's $3,500. I'm thinking, well, you know, what do you need? And I mean, I assumed because you worked with me that
Mhm.
you would work with them. So I'm glad that I'm getting confirmation
Yes.
that
Mhm.
you would. And listen, I want you to know that I have done this and will continue to do this because you guys have treated me fair. And I think that's just how the world goes round and round. You create relationships and business relationships that it's a win-win situation. So, all of a sudden one day we got wine sent to us and we're like looking at my wife. I'm like, who sent us wine? And it didn't come from Alice. It was some kind of other obscure return address. And it took us a little while to figure it out. Well, it was from you guys. And that's when we first signed up. And then we talked to a doctor and then we got another one. So then I talked to Nico and I was like, hey, how am I doing with these doctors? He said, well, who are you talking to? I said, I don't know. I never ask them. I just start talking to them. And he said, well, you need to probably ask them. So I've been asking them and writing their name down. And then I've been sending Nico this thing back. So he's like, hey, so-and-so signed up too. What's your favorite restaurant? Which is really nice. And I was like, you know what? If I continue to do this, there's only so much food I can eat and so much wine I can drink. I said, I don't want you to cut me a check, but like, I'm paying you now. Can we work something out? He's like, well, I'm not sure. And so I'm not trying to be high pressure or whatever. I'm just saying, if you feel like there's value in what I'm bringing to the table, then great. If you don't, I'm not going to say, well, I'm not talking to anybody now. I'm still going to do my thing. I just want to like make sure I'm doing it well. And if you have to vet whatever I'm doing out further, then that's fine. We'll vet it out further, whatever you got to do.
When I was telling the account managers about my idea to do this coffee talk just to get to know practices and share with the other doctors, Nico instantly was like, you have to talk to Lou, but he's not a chiropractor. And I said, but Nico, what I want to be able to talk to the chiropractor. He goes, no, trust me, you have to talk to him. And he was just so excited about all that you've done. And, I think it goes back. I think you and I have this in common. We believe in the product. And so we
Absolutely.
know that it works. And it's, I left being a stay-at-home mom to go back to work full time. I wouldn't do that if I didn't believe in it. You
Mhm.
wouldn't take the time out of your day to talk to potential new docs if you didn't believe in it. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because
Yeah.
it's one of those things. We say our goal is to get chiropractic in as many homes in the US as we can.
Yep.
And I've always felt that, I guess, subconsciously in my heart, but now knowing I actually am a part of it, I believe in what we do. I've seen it work. I've seen practices, like you say, during COVID, double, triple, you know, the ROI on our program. Yes, do you have to spend money out the gate? You do.
Yep.
But is the ROI there? And, you're living proof. We've got several other doctors, it works. Do you get to sit there and twiddle your thumbs the whole time? No, you do have to put in some work and you have to,
Absolutely.
help feed it, but it's there. And, it's like you said, these are people who've never heard of chiropractic before, never been. So you have the opportunity to open their minds to the world of chiropractic. And then that's
Absolutely.
phenomenal. So I just,
Absolutely. No, it's that, and I appreciate that. I wanted to tell you this, that of course we get new patients in outside of Atlas.
mhm.
Um, but the Atlas patient that we get in, 60% of them we never talk to on the phone at all. I'm specifically leaning them towards texting. Even in Bible Belt, Florence, South Carolina, people appreciate being able to book an appointment over text. And it's good for the office because the phone would ring off the hook. I mean, we want to stay lean and mean and be efficient. We don't want extra people. So that's why all these pre-done messages that I sent out are just, I mean, they're customized for us, but they're probably useful for anybody. Um, and I don't mind sharing them with you because maybe there's a doc that wants to do Atlas only, that doesn't want to do AI.
Mhm.
And, maybe this is part of, I mean, after I did this for a month, I'm thinking, I'm not typing anymore. this,
You're like,
this
I'm
is,
done with this.
I'm done. I'm just going to create my response on a Word document, and it copies and pastes really easy. In
Mhm.
fact, you guys have that app. So sometimes when I'm out, I'm not even in front of my computer. I can just go to a previous patient, long press and text,
Mhm.
click over and send it to a new patient and change the name. And I got everything I need. So it's really pretty powerful.
And for you to, I haven't heard of anybody customizing it to that extent. So that is exciting for me, because I was the one who was texting constantly. And when I finished for the day, when I was a CA, the last thing I wanted to do was text someone. I never have talked on the phone to my family as much as I did after I started with Atlas, because I was so tired of texting people back that I was like, I don't want to text today. Can we just talk?
Well, here,
And
and that's so funny. And the funny thing is, I'm Atlas Ashley, you know what I mean? So I'm
that's
I'm sending like hug emojis back to him, and trying to be as in touch with my feminine side as I can, because I'm supposed to be a woman
you're supposed to
responding.
be Ashley.
I'm supposed to be Ashley. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind sharing this with you. I'm sure, you know, if I were you guys, um, and I'm just going to say this, you could probably sell this stuff. You could probably grab this and say, hey, I'm going to send you someone else's data. You don't have to sign up for AI, but this is what they did. And this is not hard to do,
And it
you know,
works.
and it works. I mean,
It works.
it took me 15 months to create it,
To
but
master it.
this is all I do. I mean, I got a response for everything. Every
Oh,
question that they've ever asked, I got the question and then the response right underneath it, 6 pages worth.
that's phenomenal. So your wife, let me ask you this, and then I will not, I promise I won't keep
No,
you
it's
too much
fine. Go
longer.
ahead.
Um, when your wife gets potential new patients in and referrals, I know there's a difference between an Atlas referral and one that a long-term patient has issued. Because if Joseph has been coming to your practice for 4 years. He loves you, and he has told his coworker about you. They know about, Dr. Donna's bedside manner, her personality, what to expect in the office. They get all that. The Atlas leads don't. Does she feel that there's a different approach she takes with them? Or has she said anything about how they even interact? Because these are people, like you said, that a lot of them have never even had chiropractic before.
All right. So would you, I know you're busy, would you talk with her?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
she, so I was telling her, we were driving somewhere, and I didn't even tell her about this phone call. Things are happening so fast. And I'm not at her office right now. I'm at another office. So I'm doing something different. But she's like, well, hey, I'll talk to him too. She wants to get involved, but again, I'm Marcos,
Hmm.
and she's you, you know
Yep.
what I mean? She's the one. So she is a phenomenal chiropractor, and she is a phenomenal closer, and she's been doing this for 32 years. Now she's been on her own for 23. We probably need to increase our because we did a $22 22-year anniversary special last year. Well, it's 23 years.
They
So we
gotta do
probably
23.
need a 23. But she would be thrilled to talk with you about what she has accomplished and what she's done. And I'd like for you to meet her too,
I would
because
love
if
that.
because if being part of the Atlas family, I think you should know all of our family members, including her.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. She probably she's very discerning. I mean, she's the kind of person, she comes in and like someone looks at her, she goes, "You're low on calcium, aren't you?" And they just start bawling. "I got tested yesterday. How did you know that?" She just knows stuff. I mean, she can't even like I ask her questions. She's like, "I just have a feeling." It drives me nuts. I'm like, "What do you mean a feeling?" Like I need a calculator and data. But you know what? That's what makes her successful. And I don't think, I told this 100 times, you have more guts than brains. You opened up this business. I would have never opened it. I would have got the calculator out and I would have did all the numbers and I would have said, I'm going to fail. I'm not going to do it. But she said, I didn't even do the numbers. I just did it because I wanted to,
She
you
wanted to.
know,
That was
and
my
that's how
dad.
she lives her life.
So my dad was the last class that was able to graduate from Palmer without prerequisites. So he started his own chiropractic practice at 21.
Wow. She started at 22.
Yeah. So I mean,
Not her own, no, not her own.
yeah.
She went to someone else's.
But like I think about that, and I think about where I was at 21 or
Yeah.
22. I think about my dad now at 66, and I remember him at 40. And I think at 40, I'm like, God, even 20 years younger than that, would I have trusted you? And to take that leap of faith, and to still be doing it 30, 40 years later, they've got to be doing something right.
There's
Because
no
if they
question.
weren't, they wouldn't be. And I think that's what I'm loving about getting to do these coffee talks is I'm getting to find out, people who invest their lives in a career, but in a movement, because chiropractic is a movement,
Yep.
and it's evolved. It has evolved so much. Um, my dad doesn't like this story, but I went to an event for Dr. CJ, and I've been adjusted by my dad and his friends, and they all adjust the same way. And I got an adjustment from a doctor in Texas, and it was the most aggressive
Mm,
adjustment I've ever gotten. And
mm.
I wanted to cry, but I didn't. But whenever it was finished and I stood up, I felt better than I've ever felt after an adjustment. And I called my dad and I said, I feel like I cheated on you, but I also feel like you've lied to me my entire life. And he was like, what? And I was like, why were you so gentle with me?
Yeah.
Why did you baby me? And he was like, because you scream in my office and embarrass me. And I was like,
Right.
oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I was so spoiled by being a child of a chiropractor that
Yeah.
I've denied myself what I should have been getting. But there is something to be said for someone who can practice chiropractic this long and influence as many people as your wife and my father have.
No
Um,
question.
and then for people like you and I to get to be a part of it, I think
Yep.
it's so rewarding to be a part of something you believe in, because who gets to say that?
I agree.
I get up for work every day. I'm very fortunate I get to work from home, but I enjoy what I do every day. And I didn't have that in my previous life. So, like I said, we believe in what we're doing, and that just makes